What's up, everybody? We have 10 minutes here to discuss with Mr. Ryan Muckenhirn the 375 Ruger. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Mark, this is one that you wanted to do real bad.
Man, it's one that I'm interested in, and I think one thing, and Brian will probably get to it, I imagine, because he gets to everything, is I don't feel like you can talk about the 375 Ruger without talking about the 375 H&H. Would you feel like that's correct? Like that's probably the main comparison that's going to be made. Obviously, the 375 H&H, a long-standing, very historic, iconic cartridge, and now you've got kind of like I don't know.
New guy on the block.
New guy on the block, hot on his heels.
Right.
Explain.
There's a new sheriff in town, maybe.
Holland & Holland, a firm out of London. Yeah. Made the 375.
Well, that's
Holland.
kind of a letdown.
No, they're amazing gunmaker.
No. Just the fact they're not out of Holland.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Why wouldn't... Sorry.
Yeah, that is kind of a letdown.
Anyway.
Belted Magnum case, 1912. The 375 Holland & Holland Magnum. We talk about the 30-06 being like the parent of all cases, but if we really get down to this, I'd say the 375 H&H is responsible for more successful offspring in the centerfire cartridge world.
Seriously?
Yeah, I mean, like all belted Magnums. Almost all belted Magnums.
Think the 300 Win Mag?
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah. So in one way or another, so there's 375 H&H. There's actually like a 400, and then there's a 300, and then there was a couple in betweens. That case length and that case design, the head diameter, the belt diameter, all that turns into cartridges like 300 Win Mag, 7 Rem Mag. The Weatherbees, with the exception of like the 378 based case, which is kind of their own critter, 416 Rem Mag. It goes on and on and on. Is a really, really important cartridge in metallic cartridge design and history. And then, fast forward, we get talking about modern case design, and we've done that in the past on the 10-minute talks on cases where we talk about eliminating belts and straightening body tapers and sharpening shoulders. Well, okay, 2007 comes around, another banner year for the Hornady Ammunition Company, introduction of the 6.5 Creedmoor, introduction of the 375 Ruger. Both.
Wait, Hornady introduced the 375 Ruger?
Yeah, it was a collab between Ruger and Hornady.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right.
Again, we talk about a modern case design. So we eliminated the belt on the 375 H&H. We shortened up its overall length on both loaded and then the case length. We straightened the body taper, and we sharpened the shoulder. Mm-hmm. And what we have is now a modern case design.
Mark, why on this picture do you have this big white box covering the base of the...
Well, that's how it printed, Jim. So, yeah, that's my explanation. But you can see,
one
so
on
this
the top
is the full length.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is the Ruger. That's the 375 H&H.
Yep.
I don't know. Maybe we can... I don't know if we can borrow a picture from somewhere and put it up. But anyway, like Ryan was talking about, in the Ruger, you got the sharper shoulder here.
Yep.
It doesn't taper either. It doesn't go...
Right.
Yeah, the 375 H&H looks much more like the kind of cartridge you would see in a leather shoulder strap adorned over somebody's fireplace next to a wild African something.
Well, and I think that's important to bring up. The 375 H&H, I mean, I'd say it's popular domestically, but nowhere as near as popular. Like, Ryan, where would you say the 375 H&H kind of made its money?
The Dark Continent, Africa.
Mm-hmm.
See.
Hunting big game.
Yeah.
And it is a spectacularly versatile cartridge.
Mm-hmm.
So everything, honest to goodness, I have my hunting partner's hunted elk with 375 H&H to a great deal of success. And he's hunted game in Africa with it. It is a super versatile round. I think if a lady or gentleman was considered a global hunter and you hit all the big game species on the various continents, the 375 H&H would be a stellar choice.
But isn't the Ruger then just the better version of it?
Yes.
It sounds like. So explain that.
Yeah, so here we come on this modern case design, right, and what it does. So we can get away with a slightly shorter action, and we've talked about that before, and whether it's a big deal or whether it's not a big deal, and it depends on the actual rifle action that we're talking about. But what it offers the shooter in terms of ballistics in a modern rifle with modern propellants. And I think one of the bigger claims to fame with the 375 Ruger is what it did in a much smaller, lighter weight package for, and we'll just pick on the the dangerous game hunter. So, normal 375 H&H barrel length, probably 24 to 26 inches. If you're looking at that, classic British style hunting rifle, short forend, long barrel, express sights, the works, probably a Mauser based action. Mm-hmm. We can now do that in a much smaller, wieldier, lighter platform. And Ruger had the first rifle in it that I ever saw was the 77. I think they called it the Hawkeye African or Hawkeye Safari. I'd have to look back at that. And it was like a 22-inch gun. It was super compact. I mean, like it looks like a carbine in your hands.
Wild.
Yeah. But the cartridge and the way its exterior ballistics worked out and interior ballistics is that you were matching, if not exceeding 375 H&H velocities and energy levels in this super handy, packable, portable rifle.
With the same bullets.
Yep.
Yeah.
So 270 grain or 300 grain is pretty common loading for 375s. And it was just this perfect little cute package. And that's really the cool part about the 375 Ruger is you're getting this big Magnum, big safari gun performance out of a rifle that now if you were going to be on a combination Dall sheep, caribou, brown bear hunt, you could take one gun and it would not have to be this uber heavy safari gun.
What kind of like range capabilities are you looking at a gun like this? Because when I see the bullet, it just looks like a big giant pill, like something like a big version of the Dayquil I was taking when I had a cold.
So the 375 with modern bullets, like you get some pretty cool bullets for 375s. We got to look at some other cartridges here that'll kind of help illustrate this. Ultra long range shooting, now ELR and ULR and XLR. 375 is a pretty popular bullet diameter because we can get away with a ton of BC at a good weight. And we wouldn't be shooting those kinds of things, but let's look at like Nosler's AccuBond, some Sierra bullets, the Barnes TTSXs. You can get into some relatively high ballistic coefficient projectiles around that 300 grain weight. And this becomes an honest-to-goodness 600-yard big game loading with ease. And actually...
Oh, absolutely.
Do those cartridges have a pointier nose than this one on this illustration that, like I said, looks like
so this one looks like Hornady's, looks like a DGX or a DGS.
Yeah, I think so.
Which is going to be made for penetration.
Okay.
Very traditional African, dangerous game type stuff.
We're trying to break bone and drive deep through a body cavity. Whereas... if you were that hunter in Alaska or hunting for plains game or needed something with a little bit more range but needed horsepower, you could get a loading with a Nosler AccuBond or a Barnes TTSX or some other what we'll call slippery projectile, put it in there, and this is no joke. In fact, when Mark was going on his moose hunt, this is almost 2 years ago now, right?
Yep.
We were looking at different cartridges to take up there, and 375 H&H and 375 Ruger were on that list.
Yep.
And running the numbers in comparison with like 300 Wisdom, 300 Win Mag, 300 Rum, they all fell fairly favorably at the 600-yard line, which is tremendous because now you're hucking this really heavy, well-constructed projectile at really respectable velocities and delivering payload on target at long range.
Do these things hurt to shoot?
They're up there. The 375 Ruger is potentially a little sharper than the 375 H&H, and a lot of that I attribute to rifle design too. So you're getting into a lighter rifle.
That's what I wanted to ask.
Yeah, so I mean it's kind of an apples and apples comparison, but then again, if you're in a 10-pound class 375 full length H&H,
right? Yeah.
Versus an 8-pound 375 Ruger, expect more recoil just because it's lighter.
That makes sense. Yeah.
It makes perfect sense, and that's what I was. My question was because when I was reading about it, they said they made these case design differences, but at the expense of recoil. And that was my number one question, though. Was, well, is it because you're putting this cartridge in comparison and it's just a much lighter package, so then your felt recoil is going to be sharper? I will say the 375 H&H, I've only shot a couple of them, a handful of times. Very deceiving cartridge. You got this huge, not huge. You got this huge cartridge, but very gentle, more like a push recoil. Yep. It just kind of rocks you back, and you're ready for another one.
I'd rather shoot a 37 than a 33 in a lot of cases. So like a 338 Win Mag in an equivalent weight gun.
I was going to say all things being equal.
Yep. They just seem a lot sharper, if that's a word that I'll use. Whereas the 375 just kind of moves you out of the way. It might be, potentially more disruptive to your sight line, but like the perceived impact on the shooter,
the hurt
does not seem as much.
It's interesting. It's if I pushed you like that, that's a 375.
Why'd you do that?
Because I'm being aggressive. Or then if I went bam, I punched you right in the shoulder.
338.
Okay. Yeah.
I think the 375 Ruger is a very good Swiss Army knife of sorts.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool.
I think one thing to remember too, Ryan, and you touched on it, but having this kind of capability in a lighter weight package that can be a mountain gun. You may not be chasing brown bears, but you might be chasing something that lives in brown bear country.
Bingo.
I don't need a 375 Ruger to kill a Sitka blacktail, but I'd sure like to have it with me because of what lives around them.
Yep.
That's a good point. And with that said, we're in the red right now, according to MC Ryan's shot clock. So we will leave it at that. But if anybody has any other questions on the 375 Ruger or thoughts on it, we'd love to hear that. As always, hit us up on Instagram at Vortex Nation Podcast. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Also still open to cartridge suggestions. Even this one was Mark's suggestion. So we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Bye. Well, now I want one.
They're a cool round.
Now I want one almost more than any of the other ones that we've talked about, and I've said now I want one after this.
So let me... Agreed, right? And you know where my favorite shades in rifle design, characteristics. So I like the 375 Ruger better. If I was going to Africa, I might carry the 375 H&H.
What I think is...
Because of the mystique.
Yeah, but I'll say this, and this is what I think is super special about this cartridge. It's difficult to get a cartridge, especially in like a medium bore, to the level of acceptance that a 375 H&H is, right? So benchmarking occurred for the 375 H&H in 1912.
Like, what do you mean by benchmarking?
Like that set it. Like
this is what others are measured against.
Right.
Okay.
And there's been a lot of other really good medium bores that have come out. They've never enjoyed the success. Like 375 Weatherby, 378 Weatherby.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I printed off this thing. I mean, the whole post.
Yeah, correct, right? So in the 37, well, we'll go 35 to 41 caliber. They've never done what the 375 H&H has done. The 375 Ruger, and maybe it was just like the age of information, right? The 375 Ruger hit the scene. There's already a metric designation for it, which is really cool. And now it's like, that's like a PH staple. Like you get to Africa and you get to the lodge and you're looking and they've got the rack of rifles you can run and it's like, okay, Holland, Ruger. I mean, it's a thing.
It's in there.
Yeah, it is the Creedmoor of the medium bores.
Huh.
Yeah.
I was just looking, their Savage has a 116 Alaskan brush hunter. That's a 20-inch barrel.
That would be a handy critter.
That would be cool. It's also stainless.
Does it have the
Speaking
turn
my
on,
language.
turn off muzzle brake on it?
Oh, I don't know. I should check. Is that a thing?
Yeah, they had
Wait,
a rifle.
what?
Yeah, they had a rifle called the, was it the Brown Bear or the Bear Hunter? It was a medium weight, 22-inch gun, very stiff, short barrel.
Okay.
That had their on-off brake.
Okay.
And
So you could say, I want to hurt versus, nah, I don't feel like hurting.
Right.
Do you want to hear or do you want to hurt?
You can have one.
Let's see, 375 Ruger. It's called the Alaskan Brush Hunter. It's not in stock at Sportsman's Guide right now.
Dang it.
It does
That
not
thing is
appear to have
short.
any.
No. That would be a very utilitarian rifle.
What does it say? What it weighs?
That's going to be close to 8.
It doesn't say. Well, wait. Key specs. Oh, 7.6 pounds.
I'll be
Oh,
there.
she's a snappy bitch.
Yep. But
But when a bear is attacking you, you probably don't even think about it.
it's a nice cartridge. And it's where we got the 300 PRC. It's where we got the 6.5 PRC. They all came from that.
Really?
Yep.
I
Did
do
we
want
cover?
one.
So, okay. I've heard. So the 375 Ruger is non-belted.
Correct.
375 H&H is belted.
Correct.
I've heard belts are basically a myth and unnecessary.
Keep your pants up.
What? Well, there's that. What does it do on the cartridge?
Headspace.
Okay.
That's what it was. It's initial design. So if we look at the progression,
Something to index against.
yeah, exactly. So it's a what do you would call it? An indicator or a timing mark. So as we look at the progression of cartridges, we go from rimfire to rimmed, also known as flanged. The British called them flanged. So there's a 375 H&H flanged, which is the exact same cartridge sans belt with a rim.
Okay.
And that was made expressly for double rifles.
Okay.
And then belts were used to control headspace when we went away from flanges, because you couldn't put a flanged cartridge in a repeater, but you could put a belted cartridge in a repeater.
Okay.
And so the other thought process, aside from having like an indicating marker or head spacing, was strength. So at this point of the case, they call it the web.
Right.
It's heavier here than on an equivalent case. And so that's a point of failure on a lot of rifle cartridges is they separate at the head. You get what they call an incipient case head separation.
So is that one of those
So
things
the
where
case
maybe
is left in the chamber or whatever, and then you
comes
just
out.
rip a head out?
Right.
is that potentially something like over time? Maybe it became unnecessary
Yeah.
with modern, like
Case design.
essentially case design
Right.
and being able to make them better, more efficiently, stronger, whatever.
So both cases have a shoulder. The 375 is a very shallow shoulder.
Right.
If you go up to a 458 lot, which is a 375 H&H necked up to 45 caliber,
That's got to be just
It's got to be just straight.
it has, yeah, correct. And so it uses the case head, or excuse me, the belt for total headspace control
because it's got nothing up
because it
here.
has no shoulder. Now, technically, all belted magnums use this as a headspace, like a no or a go gauge for belted magnums are this long, whereas a 375 Ruger headspace gauge is this long because they do use the prominent shoulder, but you can headspace off the shoulder on this.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
So, as modern cartridge design kicked off, this became the point of headspace. It allowed for probably a more accurate setup, right? Because we still have to cut the depth of the chamber to match the case.
I just love the fact that like you said, like this is a benchmark originally made or whatever in 1912
Yeah.
and still 100% viable today. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'd go do something with that. That's a great cartridge.
Yeah.
But the 375 Ruger,
Is a better cartridge.
Oh, there's some other ones like that too, like the 3040 Krag.
Yep.
When was that made?
Oh, man.
In the 18s, right?
1894?
Still viable as well.
right?
Some of those old ones are pretty sweet.
3030, 1894.
Hey, how about that double rifle? You would have loved it. Ian's
Ian
double
Shipley?
rifle.
I,
Yeah.
I called Ryan about it this morning. I'm like, dude, I saw this thing.
Yeah, when he called me, I think he's had that rifle for just shy of 2 years now.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I got a really cool rifle. I was gone. I wasn't here when it came in. And I said, well, what is it? He says, I bought a Chapuis. And I'm like, no. He's like, yeah, I got it off Gunbroker. He goes, it was a 2-barrel set. I go, was it a 30-30 and a 20 gauge? And he's like, yup. I go, left-handed? He's like, yup. I'm like, I was watching that gun. He stole that thing.
Yeah.
Like, stole that gun. Chapuis are beautiful.
Thing
Oh, it was
gorgeous.
just elegant, beautiful. He got 2 guns out of the deal.
Yeah.
It's 28 gauge.
Oh, is it
28,
20?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I'm very envious.
Spatial.
Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.